Hey guys, Kevin Cleary here with The View from the Pew, and this is the second video in the Can You Relate series, a series where we're going to talk about human relationships and interactions and the things that mess them up and the things that make them better and how we can fix the ones that have been messed up, and we'll deal with all kinds of different aspects of humans interacting with one another, okay? Because that's a pretty foundational aspect of all of our lives. So, let me today talk about something that is just a reality, okay? And that is the fact that we as people, and if you interact with people, which I'm sure you do at work and at home, in your business practices, when you go to church, when you go to whatever service clubs you're a part of, when you go to the gym, when you do your fun hobbies, all of those things are going to require you to interact with people. And you know what those people are going to do to you? They are going to disappoint you. Okay? They're going to betray you. They're going to snub you. They may gossip about you. They may speak to you when you don't want them to, and they may not speak to you when you do want them to. They'll take advantage of you. They'll blow up at you. They'll share frustrations with you. They'll say things to you that are offensive even though they may not realize it. Okay? They'll get upset with you and they'll upset you. That's just the nature of who we are as people. Okay? Now, some people are going to be better or worse at this than others. Okay? Some people are going to be more aware of what you're dealing with and what you're going through, and they're going to interact with you better. And in fact, that's the goal of all of this. Okay? We want to take the time and the direction from these videos to make us better at interacting with one another. All right? But the reality is, we as people, let's flip it the other way here. We as people are imperfect. Okay? We get emotional about stuff. We get angry and depressed and excited and happy, and all of those things are going to influence or have the potential to influence how we interact with other people. Okay? And so if we're overtired or we're stressed out at work, we may treat people in a different way than we did yesterday when we weren't overtired, we weren't overly stressed. All right? And so we've kind of looked now at both sides of this. We've looked at the person being offended. Here's all the things that people may do to you. And now we've looked at you as a person and how you may allow your context, your situation to influence how you treat someone else. Now here's what I want to say about that. Okay? We are all in this together. Okay? Whether it be your workplace or your church or your family or your favorite service club, if it's the Lions Club or the Kiwanis Club, whether it be the group of people you hang out with at social events, the reality is, if you're going to need to be together and work together to be successful. And so what that means is we need to find a way to keep this group working and functioning properly, to keep those relationships positive and healthy. And you know what? Paul, in Ephesians chapter 4, writes to the church. And he knows that in order for the church to be successful, they've got to have good relationships. Okay? And essentially what he says, he knows what we've just been discussing. He knows that people are going to mess up. And so he says, with all humility and gentleness and with patience, bearing with one another in love. Okay? I want to key in on that phrase, bearing with one another. You know what that implies? Well, you don't have to bear with things that are fun and easy. You have to bear with things that are difficult and frustrating and annoying. And so Paul here is implying that within the church even, we are going to grate on each other from time to time. Okay? And what he says is bear with one another. Okay? Why? Because you want to maintain unity. That's what he says in verse 3. Because you want the group to stay together. Okay? It's very easy when someone says something that you don't like or does something that you don't like, to say, forget that bozo, right? I'm done with that idiot. I'm not being nice to them anymore. I'm not inviting them to things anymore. I want nothing to do with that jerk because they hurt me in some way. Okay? I understand it totally. I've been hurt just like you. But what the Holy Spirit really speaking through the Apostle Paul calls us to do is bear with one another. Right? He knows we're going to upset each other. He knows we're going to say things and do things that are not helpful, okay? But he says, look, you got to be patient. And let me suggest this. I know that there are other people around you that really tick you off from time to time. But did you ever stop and think that maybe you're the one who sometimes ticks somebody else off? Maybe you have a habit that's annoying. Maybe you did something that upset someone. Maybe you forgot to maybe today on the way to work, your best friend was on the sidewalk and you didn't notice and you drove right by them without waving. And now they're thinking, what is wrong with that guy? Is he mad at me? Is she upset with me? Did I say something wrong? Did I do? Well, you're watching this going, no, I just didn't see you, okay? But they don't know that. And what would you want them to do in that situation? You want them to bear with you. You want them to be patient. You want them to assume the best of you, not the worst. Okay? Maybe you said something, you didn't mean it to be offensive, but they took it in a certain way, and now they think, man, that guy was really mean to me. Okay, how would you want that person that you misspoke to? And maybe you didn't mean to. Maybe you were stressed out because of work, or maybe you've been in traffic for a long time, or maybe your kids were driving you crazy, and they called up right at the worst possible time, and you were short with them. How do you want them to handle that? Do you want them to say, "What a jerk! Forget that guy," or do you want them to say, "I don't know what they're going through right now. I'll just give them a chance. Right? I will bear with this bad behavior, poor choice, whatever." I think the pretty obvious answer is we all want people to be gracious with us. All right? And the implication then is we need to be gracious with them. Right? Remember the old golden rule? Essentially treat other people the way you'd want them to treat you. All right. Now, I'm not saying we never say anything or we never bring up the problems that are going on between us. That's a whole nother video. Okay. But what I am saying is we need to be patient with one another. We need to realize that none of us are perfect. And from time to time, every one of us is going to do something or say something that's going to be harmful or hurtful, or at least perceived that way by another person. And so what we all need is a little patience. What we all need is to be extended a little grace. All right? And so today, the very first of these videos that actually deals with a particular characteristic is dealing with patience. And I would suggest to you that if all of us were just a little patient with one another, we would have less stress and less conflict in our relationships, especially above all places in the home. When we're close together, living in close proximity, in the same room, in the same bed, the person you're married to, your kids, those are the people that can often get on our nerves the most. And those are the places where we need, therefore, the most patience and understanding. Right? There you go, guys. That is the view from the pew. I'd love to hear your comments below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.